Good evening, everyone. It being 7:30 on Tuesday, July 7th, 2026, let's please begin our town council meeting. I'd ask everyone who can to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask everyone who can to please remain standing, to take a moment of silence for all those serving in our military at home and abroad, and for their families as well. Thank you. I'd ask the clerk to take the roll, please.
Councilor Barrica? Here. Councilor Diuti? Here. Councilor Flaherty?
Here.
Councilor Maglio? Here. Councilor Moran?
Here.
Councilor Quilty? Here. Councilor Reynolds? Here. Councilor Ringus?
Here.
Councilor Sterling?
Here. Thank you. I would note at this time that due to Councilor Flaherty participating remotely, all votes this evening will be required to be taken by roll call. Are there any announcements from council members? Council Vice President Maglio?
Yes, thank you very much. I would just like to make a quick announcement that on July 4th, there was a fire in East Braintree, and this fire really tested Braintree's first responders, and they met the moment. Their quick action contained the fire, protected residents, and rescued pets. Whether it's a wildfire in open forest areas or a house ablaze in a driveway a few feet from the next home, these firefighters are ready for it, and Braintree is lucky to have them, and we thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice President Maglio. You stole my thunder on that. Thank you. Councilor Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to remind the public and the council that on August 5th, there'll be another community meals at the St. Francis, St. Clair Parish here on Washington Street. That starts at 5:30 and is open to all who are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Reynolds. Any others? Okay, I have an announcement. In addition to the, I share in Councilor Maglio's credit to the fire department for their outstanding efforts this past weekend. What I have become concerned about because of activity in a neighborhood in my district, most recently, where parties are being held, where fees are being charged, and commercial entertainment activity is being foisted upon a neighborhood in violation of current zoning bylaws for residential B. And I am going to ask for, at a future council meeting, a review of our zoning ordinances and also our penalties for infractions or violations of those ordinances to ensure that our response is appropriate and prevents activities that cause a lot of anxiety and a lot of disturbance for neighbors that are related to commercial activities in an area that is not zoned or designed to handle commercial activity. So I appreciate the law enforcement response that has been made and the inspection response that has been made, but I want to make sure that we're doing all that we can to maintain quiet and peaceful neighborhoods. Thank you. Any other announcements? Seeing none, we'll move over to approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of April 15th, 2026?
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call, sorry.
Yes.
Counselor Diuti?
Yes.
Counselor Flaherty?
Yes.
Counselor Maglio?
Yes.
Counselor Moran?
Yes.
Counselor Quilty?
Yes.
Counselor Reynolds?
Yes.
Counselor Ringus?
Yes.
Counselor Sterling?
Yes.
That's 9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. We'll now move to old business, order number 26048, mayor appointment of Robert J. Kilroy Jr. as chief of police, or take up any action relative thereto. I will now refer to Councilor Baraka, chair of the Ways and Means Committee, for a recommendation on order 26048.
Thank you very much, President Moran. The Committee of Ways and Means met last week on June 30th, and I want to thank my colleagues on the committee. We spent close to 2.5 hours with Mr. Kilroy, and we are sending this to the full council with a split vote, 2 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 absent.
Thank you. As a reminder to the committee and to the public, per the town charter, section 2-10, mayoral appointments do not require a majority vote to pass at the full council. Only 4 yeas are required to approve an appointment. Section 210 of the council review of certain appointments reads as follows: appointments may be made by the mayor shall become effective on the 30th date after the date on which notice of proposed appointment was filed with the clerk of council, unless 6 members of the town council shall within those 30 days vote to reject the appointment, or unless the town council has sooner voted to affirm the appointment. The question on rejection of any appointment made by the mayor shall not be subject to the procedure of charter objection provided in section 29B of this charter. I'd now recognize anyone on the mayor's staff who would like to speak on order 26048.
Good evening, President Moran and Council. Thank you so much for the chance to be before you this evening to support an appointment of Robert J. Kilroy Jr. to Chief of Police for the Braintree Police Department. I also want to recognize that many members of our department are here, and as always, very thankful for their service and appreciate that they're here tonight during this important meeting. Mr. Kilroy currently serves as Deputy Chief of Police in Walpole, a role he has been in for the last 4 years, and will be bringing to Braintree 26 years of professional municipal law enforcement experience in Massachusetts. His career with the town of Walpole began in 2009 as a police officer, and since then, he has steadily advanced through the ranks, holding various positions, including sergeant and lieutenant, before reaching his current executive role as deputy chief. Mr. Kilroy is right behind me, seated with his wife tonight to answer questions upon my introduction. I also want to note that prior to his tenure in Walpole, he served as a police officer for the towns of Franklin and North Attleboro. He was also a member of the Massachusetts Army National Guard. In addition to his practical experience, he holds a master's degree in criminal justice from the University of Massachusetts Lowell and a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Newbury College. As members of the Ways and Means Committee had learned last week, and apologies for not being able to be at that meeting, but I do want to thank you for your extensive review of the process. We had discussed what the interview process had entailed, starting with the job posting to the screening of an 8-member search committee, which was comprised of professionals from executive and legislative leadership roles within the town, alongside 2 Braintree residents with experience in executive law enforcement positions. They had reviewed all of the applicants' credentials, interviewed candidates, and ultimately put forward 4 recommendations to the mayor's office for further consideration. Upon those 4 candidates being received by the mayor's office, we had scheduled additional second-round interviews and had conducted background checks. I do understand that during Ways and Means, I know it was a 2-2 split vote, and while we were hopeful for full support, did understand and come to realize during that process that there might have been some concerns on the background check side, having a fellow municipal law enforcement agency conduct those background checks. And I do take great appreciation for that. You know, we do want to make sure that we are vetting our candidates. This is a very important job, and while we do have confidence in that, I do want to note that we take great thought about that. So that being said, I do want to note that if the council were to move forward on this appointment tonight, I do want to just note that we would, to kind of address that issue, perform an additional third-party background check, a non-municipal law enforcement background check. That would be a condition of the appointment to pass that tonight. So we are requesting that as part of this vote tonight. But I want to offer the council an opportunity to talk to Mr. Kilroy and ask any questions of my office and the process as you work through your deliberations this evening. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. At this point, I guess we would invite Deputy Chief Kilroy to come up and answer any questions that we have. If the council would indulge me, Councilor Flaherty is attending remotely and had forwarded 2 questions to ask. And just for logistical purposes, if I could read them, and they would be the first questions to be asked. Good evening, Deputy Kilroy. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
The questions that Councilor Flaherty had, the first one is, please explain your view on the value of accreditation to a police department and the community it serves, and whether or how you would plan to steer the department through the process to regain the accreditation we have recently have lost.
So accreditation is extremely important to all departments. It indicates that the department is committed to not only meeting but exceeding the expectations of what a police department is expected to do in regards to policies, procedures, and basic commitment to the community. It ensures that the department is constantly evolving, constantly anticipating growth and the changes in the community so that they can adjust to moving forward. It is essentially critical in regards to the assurance and developing public trust and accountability, all the current tenets that are critical for developing a relationship with the community. It ensures that we are exceeding our expectations and hopefully bypassing current industry standards. In regards to reaccrediting or regaining the accreditation of the department, the foundation is already there. We know that the department was accredited. There were some gaps in the most recent process, so we know the foundation is there to build upon. We know the processes are current and up to date. We know the people are involved. We know the people are committed. So it's just a matter of finding out where those shortcomings were, addressing those immediately, and developing systems or ensuring that systems are in place so that the current benchmarks and thresholds are met, so that when accreditation time comes, it's a matter of the accreditors coming in and us being able to provide all the information they need at the touch of a finger, right there, ready to go. And that's basically just about organization, management, and commitment.
Thank you. And her follow-up was, what is the timeline we should expect would be necessary for reaccreditation to be achieved?
So to answer that question effectively, I'd really need to get under the hood. I'd really need to see where we stand right now. I believe it will be quickly. From what I've understood from the conversations I've had with Acting Chief Joseph and some of the other members of the department, I believe that the discrepancies were relatively small and they've already been accomplished. A significant number of the problems that presented themselves last time have already been resolved. So I believe that it'll be quick. But again, to really fully answer that question with any accuracy, I'd really need to get under the hood, find out what is going on, talk to the relative people that are involved in the process, and ensure that the processes and the systems are in place so that we can effectively move forward quickly.
Thank you. I would now, and I would, just as an interjection, we received communication from Interim Chief Joseph this today that I saw it, and maybe earlier, that pretty clearly establishes why we fell out of accreditation and what steps have been taken subsequent to that and what needs to be done to regain accreditation. So I would want to thank Interim Chief Joseph for providing that this afternoon or today. I'm now going to open the floor to questions from any members of the council. I'd like to give the opportunity to members of the council who aren't on Ways and Means. The Ways and Means Committee had a lengthy and candid question and answer period of 2 hours last week. So I'd like to give the opportunity first to those councilors who weren't on Ways and Means. And I'd give Councilor Ringus the opportunity if he has any questions first.
Thank you, President Moore. Thank you, Deputy Chief Quiller, for being here tonight. I think just to start, you know, I was part of the screening committee, so I've sort of talked to you before. Ways and Means had a pretty significant meeting the other night, but not every member of the public has sort of had the chance to hear about you, from you. So if you could just take a few moments to kind of take us through your experience, your history in policing, your history with the National Guard, just to give our community who's here and watching at home a little bit of insight into who you are.
Sure. So I've been a police officer for over 26 years now. I began my career in North Attleboro in 1999. About 8.5 years into that, I was presented with the opportunity to transfer over to the Franklin Police Department to continue my career. Unfortunately, I transferred in 2008, and shortly thereafter, the financial crisis of 2008 struck, and I found myself at as a junior officer, unfortunately, on the list. I was about to be laid off due to financial reasons. Fortunately for me, the chief in Franklin, chief in Walpole were friends. They knew that the other department needed personnel bodies, so the two chiefs worked it out. I was able to transfer over to Walpole, where I became a patrolman over there. I worked patrol for many years before finally moving over into the detective unit to begin investigations. I was there for another approximately 5 years before I was finally promoted to sergeant. When I became sergeant, I took over as a detective unit commander, and in addition to that, I was running patrol shifts. So as a supervisor, as a sergeant, I was running patrol I was running the detective unit and on occasion patrol shifts. During my time as the detective sergeant, I was also the property and evidence custodian. We implemented new systems in place to properly track and monitor the evidence and property that we had in our custody. I was then I was the detective sergeant for several years before I was presented the opportunity to promote to lieutenant. Upon promoting to lieutenant, I then took over again as the patrol operations, the patrol commander. In that role, I was also identified as a training supervisor. I became the liaison to Gillette Stadium, the MPTC Training Academy, and I was able to participate in a number of advanced trainings to include the FBI Leader Trilogy training, the MPTC Executive Development Training, so on and so forth, and to include public relations and media, stuff like that. As a patrol commander, like I said, I was involved in all aspects of the department. I was the patrol commander for several years before I was finally promoted to the rank of deputy chief, where I currently serve as the executive officer. I currently oversee a department of approximately 60 sworn and civilian members, to include patrol sworn members and a communication staff. I oversee basically the day-to-day operations. I'm currently the hiring and promotional manager. I'm the investigative division commander, and I'm in charge of the internal affairs division. I've been in that role for about the last 4 years now, conducting basic executive level leadership decisions.
And why Braintree? What makes you want to run Braintree's Police Department?
So Braintree and Walpole are very similar in regards to their commitment to the community. Their reputation in the field is outstanding. It is an opportunity that I feel I've been building towards in regards to all of my experience, training, and development. The department itself, albeit larger, is very similar to the department I run now. We have men and women in Walpole that are committed to the cause, they're committed to the community, and I believe that Braintree is also very similar in regards to those. I believe, through my knowledge and experience, that it is staffed by an outstanding group of men and women who come in every day, committed to the department, committed to the town, and they go out and they give their full effort. I believe that my training experience will help lead that department into the future, and I am excited and honored that I'm given the opportunity to be here before you to speak.
And we touched a little bit already on the accreditation issue, but absent that, if appointed tonight, what does your first 90 days look like? What are you jumping in, and how do you sort of assess where the department is, and how do you build relationships with the men and women of our police department?
So the first 90 days, coming in from the outside, I understand that I have a bit of a learning curve. I'm going to have to learn a lot of the department. I'm going to have to learn the men and women who work here, and we're going to have to get to know each other and build a common trust and a common ground so that we can move forward together. My first 90 days, I'm not going to come in and do anything drastic. I believe that you have to come in and you have to understand the history of the department and before making changes to any policies or decision-making or tactics or personnel decisions, anything like that. Before you come in and you start making decisions, you have to understand the history behind those decisions. So initially, I'm going to come in, we're going to move slow, we're going to take our time, we're going to get to know each other, we're going to get to know the department, know the history, know how and why things function the way they do. That being said, I'm not coming in and doing nothing but just kind of hanging out, talking to people. I have an agenda in regards to getting into the budgetary issues, getting into the accreditation issue as we discussed. Basically learning as much as I can as quickly as possible so that administratively I can begin to analyze the department to ensure that we are operating at peak performance and delivering the best service that we can to the community.
Our police department has a phenomenal relationship with our schools.
Mm-hmm.
Our officers are ingrained in the schools, not just our SROs, but our patrol officers. How do you continue to bolster that relationship between the police department and the schools and make sure it continues to flourish?
So this is something we also do currently. We have officers ingrained in the schools, as you guys do, regarding SRO, school liaisons, depending on not just our public schools, but also a couple of the private schools, and we also have a school for disadvantaged youth that we have assigned 2 officers as liaisons to. My personal belief is that integrating the police department with the youth, with juveniles, is critical for moving forward, because that is where you really begin to develop the relationships that are going to continue throughout their adult lives. If you can develop a relationship so that a child recognizes a police officer and knows that they can go to that person, then that is going to be the relationship that continues through their middle school, high school years, so that if problems are developing, they know they have somebody they can go to. It is critical that youth view the police as friends and not enemies. So it is critical, or very extremely important, that we are in there developing relationships and building that trust so that they are able to not just come to us, but encourage their friends to be able to come forward too. Building relationships, especially in various segments of society, where you can develop like peer relationships, and although not really in the school system, but like in the community, developing relationships with stakeholders so that people know that you have people you can go to help spread the message and help deliver, help you accomplish the mission. And that includes the youth. That includes us integrating ourselves within the school system.
Keeping on that theme of relationships, there's also a significant relationship that needs to exist between the police department, the fire department, Brewster Ambulance, BEMA. How do you continue to make sure that that relationship stays conducive to everyone being on the same page?
So the most important thing, and this is not just between public safety organizations, but everybody, is communication, open communication, and that includes not just, like I said, public safety organizations, but internally as well. You have to have the ability to talk to each other, ensure that people are getting the information they need, and that requires constant open communication, collaboration, and basically working together to identify the mission and what the common goal is and work together to accomplish that. Again, this is all critical, where critical relationships come into play, and that is all developed by, like I said, getting with people, talking to them, meeting with them, and having a constant open communication chain that you guys can they know they can call you, I know I can call them, and we can figure out what any issues may be arising or preempt any problems that may arise, and that we can then work together to solve them.
Our community holds our police officers, our police department in high regard. You're going to be coming from the outside if appointed. What would you do, again, I guess we'll say that first 90-day period, how are you going to get out and meet the folks within our community? We have various civics groups, whether it be the East Braintree Civic Action Association, whether it be the North Braintree Civic Association, and various other civic organizations. How do you get out there, meet those folks, and sort of hear what they feel like the issues in Braintree are?
So there's two ways you can do that. Number one is obviously having an open door policy, which you encourage people, if they have a problem, if they have an issue they need to discuss, that you are available, they can come in to see you, or make an appointment to be able to arrange a time to come in and see you. More importantly is being actually on the street. You have to be out there, you have to make that face-to-face contact, have the conversations with the people, shake their hands, get to know them, get to know that they can call you if they need you, or if you're on the side of the road and they see you, they know they can come up to you and discuss anything with you. Again, this all becomes down to everything within policing, in my personal belief, everything starts with relationships. And developing those relationships with the current community stakeholders is key. And the best way to do that is get out there, meet the people, and ensure that you're building a public trust, that they know they can come to you with problems and that you're going to actively listen to what they have to say and then address those situations to the best of your ability if it is something that is feasible that the police department can assist them with.
With all due respect, everyone who sits up here, and obviously the mayor, we're politicians. So how do you, and we're not police officers, what do you do in a situation where a politician, an elected official, gives you some sort of mandate that you don't believe matches with what is going to be effective policing? How do you handle that, and how do you stand up to the person giving you such a mandate?
So in a situation like that, hopefully by the point that situation has arisen, you've been able to coordinate or collaborate with that person in the past and have built up a level of trust and a level of open communication and dialogue with that person, so that it presents the opportunity for you to sit down with them, explain the facts, explain the potential repercussions for what they are proposing, why it's not necessarily the proper course of action for the town. This gives you, like I said, the opportunity to have, and not just that you are talking at them, but you're also actively listening to what they have to say to understand their point of view. Ultimately, when it comes down to is that you're going to have to make the decisions that are in best interest of Braintree, in the best interest of the community, in the best interest of the men and women that serve the department. You're going to have collaboration, so there may not always be a 100% win on either side. So you're going to have to work together to find a middle ground that works in the best interest of the community. And at that point, as long as the course of action that you're attempting to implement is legally, morally, ethically correct, then there's no harm in attempting to at least work together to find a solution in regards to the problems that have been presented.
Thank you very much. No further questions.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Quilty.
Hi, Mr. Kilroy. Thank you for being here tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
It sounds like you have like a vast amount of experience in, the police world, I guess. So my question to you is, why should the town of Braintree hire you to be the chief of the police?
So I believe that my training and experience have kind of led me to the point in my career that I have a skill set that will be beneficial to the police department, the Braintree Police Department, and the community at large. I believe in the tenets of community engagement, also balanced with the tenets of law enforcement. I possess, the common sense and the ability to go out and make relationships, have conversations with people, and work in the best interests of the community. My training and experience through some of the leaders I've had in the past have allowed me to develop a skill set that I think will work with the men and women of this department, that I can help bring them along and get them to buy into what we're attempting to accomplish also. So I believe that it's a leadership tenet that not only out in the community, but within the department, you have to be able to work with people, build these relationships, have these conversations. And I believe I have the skill set that will allow me to develop these relationships internally also, that will help us to buy into, not that they already don't, because I know they do, but continue to buy into the ideas of community engagement. I believe I have the experience based on my background of coming from an environment similar to this, where we are deeply ingrained in the community, that I will be able to make a, maybe not a seamless transition, but a very quick transition into helping to lead this department and make sure we are out in the community working in the best interests of Braintree.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor Quill. Councilor Diuti, anything? Thank you. I'll now open it up to members of the Ways and Means Committee for another bite at the apple. Councilor Baraka, anything?
Thank you very much, President Moran. And I just want to reiterate again, and thank you, Councilor Ringus, for touching on so many of the questions that the committee spoke about last week. I think one of the things that struck me when we were speaking with Deputy Chief Kilroy last week, and maybe you can expound upon it if you don't mind now, is the amount of what came across to me is your level of dedication to community engagement, communication, and really putting that first and foremost in your philosophy of law enforcement and of policing. And could you speak a little bit about that so that folks who weren't at the Ways and Means Committee last week can maybe understand a little bit more about your philosophy of policing and what that means to you and how you will deploy that in Braintree?
Sure. So a police organization is a human organization. We have people are our most important resource. So in addition to that, the men and women of the department are going to be out in the community working on behalf of the community, the citizens that live here. So the most important thing we can do is to make sure that we are developing relationships. That comes through developing public trust, making sure that we are communicating with them through whatever means is best suited for the incident at hand, whether that's, guys meeting people on the street, having a conversation with them, or via various social media stuff, making sure that we are communicating what is happening in the town. Community engagement is probably the most important thing that we do, because by developing relationships, the people know that they can come to us. The people know that they can trust us, that we're going to do what we say we're going to do, and that we are, in fact, out here operating in their best interest. By getting out, engaging the community, the best way to do all that we need to do is by developing these relationships. We, as a police department, would be hamstrung if we don't have partnerships with the community. We need to be able to have stakeholders in the community we can go to assist us with our mission. We cannot do everything on our own. We need to be able to go out and ensure the public that when we are doing something, there is a valid reason behind why we're doing it. And by building these relationships, by getting out there, working with not just the youth, but also everyday citizens, the elderly, and so on and so forth, they know that the Braintree Police Department, the officers assigned here, the officers responding to their incident are there for them, to help them. And this belief system is basically founded in the tenet of community engagement by actually getting out, speaking to people, getting to know them, so that they may not recognize a name, but they might recognize a face. And that'll be enough for somebody to come forward and possibly give us a piece of information that we needed, or provide us with something that we could preemptively stop an issue, or just go out and create a new relationship through a current relationship. A current stakeholder introduces you to another stakeholder, and so on and so forth. Before you know it, you have an entire network of people that are all working together to achieve the common goal, which is what is in the best interest of the citizens of Braintree.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Baraka. Councilor Reynolds?
Thank you, Mr. President. Deputy Chief, we really had a great conversation, I think, last week in terms of the committee's ability to ask a wide range of questions of you, and I wish that we could have had that taped, that folks could have seen it for themselves. And I appreciate the previous speakers trying to recap and touch on what I think were some of the more important points in our interchange and in that interview process. We talked a lot about the importance of the force structure. We talked about the ability of building good morale and maintaining good morale. We talked about the ability to ensure that there is always excellent and timely training opportunities for the force. We talked about the ability to not only just tactically be a police officer, but to technically be a police officer, and the role that the chief plays and the leadership of the department would play in ensuring those types of things happen. And then also a little bit about just all of the unofficial roles that police officers in today's society need to take on in order to maintain the peace. So the Braintree Police Department is currently constituted today as a highly efficient force. The record speaks for itself. And it's a relatively young force as well. So the importance of a succession plan is really important to the efficient continuity, to a mission focus, to the workforce morale, along with strong and experienced leadership in place. So I'd like to ask if you could share with us how you would approach addressing the individual needs of your officers and the reinforcement of the organizational strength.
So individual needs are important. Like I said, they're probably the key to morale. If you can help somebody achieve something that they are interested in, it obviously increases their willingness and ability and excitement for the job. So when you have an officer that approaches you with a potential project or a training assignment or anything that they could think of, a scheduling issue, that you can work out in their benefit without detriment to the department as a whole, then you try to help them as best you can, because little things add up. They know that the department is actually looking out for them. One of the unfortunate stigmas in law enforcement is that we're all just numbers. I've been hearing it forever. So one of the biggest things you have to fight is that thought that people are just numbers in the department, and because they're not. Our people are our most critical asset. So if you can have somebody, give them little wins that helps them become motivated, helps them stay motivated, helps them increase their ability on the street, then you have to pursue those as much as you possibly can. By increasing the motivation, the morale, the excitement of the officers, that in and of itself will increase the strength of the department. You're going to have people that are more interested in pursuing additional assignments. You're going to have people that are more excited about hitting the street every day and going out and making those relationships. You're going to have people that want to promote within the department so they can help lead the future officers that are coming on board. You're going to have people that want to sign up for like the FTO program, that it can help, that they know that their future partners are coming out and they want to train them and they want to help instill that excitement in them also. So by addressing individual concerns, if you can manage them without detriment or without an effect on the organization as a whole, then you have to absolutely try to do that. Now, that's not to say you're going to get everything. You're going to have people that have requests that are just not feasible. And when that happens, you have to ensure that you're explaining why that's not feasible so that the person, when they walk away, they understand that this isn't personal, it's not a ding against them or their ability or their skill set, but it's an organizational decision. So when those things happen, again, this comes down to relationships, communication, the ability to talk to people, one-on-one. So you put that out there, you explain to them why you can't do something, but when you can, you can. You help people, we encourage our officers to go out and do things and to go out there and give 100% in the community every day, and they should be rewarded for that action. So if you have the ability to give them a little win here and there, a little reward for something, then you absolutely do that. And that in and of itself, by increasing the morale, increasing the willingness of the guys, or the excitement of the guys coming, or guys and girls, men and women, coming into work every day, that in and of itself will increase the organizational strength because it'll increase the ability for the right people that are dedicated to the job to move forward, and they're going to get excited about the future also.
Well, thank you for that answer. And I'd like to follow it up with, so the importance of having the ability to assess, in the leadership role, the ability to assess the environment that your police officers are operating in, the administrative environment that the leadership is operating in. In your ability to formulate the right responses, the right types of plans, and to execute on them for the benefit of the police force and the community. What do you see as the biggest challenges today to a municipal police force like Braintree's?
So one of the biggest challenges today is undoubtedly public trust. You have to develop it, which I believe Braintree has. Their reputation in the community is excellent. But you have to not only develop the public trust, but you have to maintain it. You have to make sure that you're out there doing what you're saying, and to ensure that when you are taking police action, it is justified, it is the correct action. Then afterward, you need to be able to explain it. You need to be able to have communication, again, with the community so that they understand what you're doing. Unfortunately, a lot of times in society, people get painted with a broad brush. You have one bad actor that makes a mistake or makes something, a malfeasance act, and the entire organization is tainted by that. So you have to have the ability to, A, have developed the relationships so that people, when they know that you're talking to them, they know they're getting the straight information, and that when you have a crisis situation or a situation involving police action, you have a network of people that you can go out to and explain what's going on, give them the relevant information to the best of your legal ability, and they know that what you're telling them is the truth, so that you can ensure that the public trust is there. Once you've lost public trust, it is incredibly difficult to get it back, and it is critical, as I mentioned before, we are a human organization that's involved in a community with nothing, but people. All we do is people every day. Everything we do either starts or ends with people. So the relationships are critical, and if you've lost the public trust, it is incredibly difficult to get that back, unfortunately. So one of the most important things we can do every day as police officers is ensure that we are maintaining that trust level with the community and that they know that we are out there operating in their best interest.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Sterling?
Thank you, Mr. Kilroy, for coming here today and answering our questions last week. And we had a bunch of them, and I really appreciate your answers and your honesty with everything. So just kind of, I'm not going to try to re-hit the questions that we asked or that have already been asked, so just kind of two groups of questions that I have tonight. You touched upon, actually I'll start with this one, sorry. We touched upon last week the difference in population size with Braintree and Walpole, the difference in households, you guys are right next to the stadium over there in Walpole. We have the South Shore Plaza and the influx of residents, or the influx of the population on a daily basis in Braintree. Can you kind of discuss the differences you're going to face coming from that department to this department, and kind of go into the details of like how they may be similar or different, and whether it's the type of crimes, the arrests, issues that may be different in the two separate municipalities?
Sure. So Walpole, obviously, we're a little bit smaller. We're sitting at somewhere around 27,000 as compared to Braintree's, I believe, 38. We're also much more spread out and diverse. We have about 25 square miles, whereas I believe Braintree is somewhere around 11. So it's much more dense, it's much more compacted. That in and of itself creates an additional problem where you have people that are very close, in very close proximity amongst themselves all the time. So you have situations where we may not have in Walpole the constant contact with our neighbors because they have wider yards, bigger yards, so on and so forth. We still have the problems. As I just mentioned, everything we do is people related. People have conflict. People have personalities that don't jive with each other. So the real trick, the real issue is that you have to be able to work with a wide variety of people, regardless of whatever their points of view happen to be. As a police officer, you have to remain neutral and balanced at all times so that you can work with both sides of a conflict to kind of relegate and mitigate the issue. The types of crimes we're doing, we deal with, I would imagine, a significant amount of the same things. We all have traffic problems. We all have residential issues in regards to larcenies and so on and so forth. We all have influxes of populations. I think we discussed that the population in Braintree exponentially increases throughout the day due to its location and the commercial and industrial base, but we also have something similar in Walpole, maybe not quite to the same degree. We're all dealing with domestic household problems and drug issues and mental health issues, which is probably on the forefront of what we're doing these days. So a lot of the problems we're dealing with are very similar, and the ability to deal with these problems doesn't really change in between departments. It might change with the clientele, but the concepts don't change. The concepts of law enforcement and enforcing law and community engagement are pretty much universal throughout. You just kind of have to tailor it to your particular demographic or particular population that you're dealing with. So the actual ability to come in and deal with the crimes in Braintree are very similar to the way we would deal with them in Walpole. The concept, like I said, the concepts of law enforcement are pretty straightforward. You know, this is the law, this is how we do it. The only thing that might change is how Braintree as a particular police organization deals with specific issues. Whereas where I'm coming from, we may take a certain tact with a larceny. Say we have a larceny over at our mall or our Walmart or our something. The way we deal with it might be different than the way Braintree deals with it in regards to the actual processing of it. The concepts are the same, but it's the I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is the way the officer deals with it may be different, but the actual ideas behind what we're doing are all the same.
Thank you. And it's kind of a group of questions here. I know some of the other counselors touched upon accreditation, and you might have mentioned it. I know you sent us an email as well. So Walpole is currently accredited or no?
Yes, we are.
It is, yeah. Do you have experience, like personal experience with that accreditation process?
So I've been through the accreditation process. I have not been through the accreditation process. I have been through the training. Walpole has currently probably the premier accreditation manager in the field. He has been praised by MPAC repeatedly, and they utilize him and his processes in regards to helping other departments come on board. He has set us up for success in every way possible in regards to this, including basically laying out the framework for what each person's individual responsibilities are. As deputy chief, I have a number of responsibilities within the accreditation process to include ensuring various policies are adhered to, evidence inspection, so on and so forth. So I am participating in the accreditation process in my role, but as the accreditation manager, I am not. So we have, like I said, an accreditation manager who pretty much puts us on target every year. And when you start falling behind, he lets you know.
So that gentleman you spoke of, that's his main position in the department, or one of, like, main focus is the accreditation and the training?
He's one of our administrative lieutenants. He's my administrative lieutenant. He is mostly focused on accreditation. He also does a lot of the IT work. So that is mostly his focus in regards to operations.
And do you know, while he's going through that process of the accreditation and making sure everyone's up to date, do you work hand in hand with in Walpole Town Manager's office, select board, things like that?
So in regards to accreditation or just
Yeah, like
general?
as you're going through the process to make sure everything's going smoothly to get your accreditation back again.
So the town manager's office really isn't involved in the internal operation of the department in regards to accreditation. We give them updates to ensure that when we're coming due, they know we're ready and everything is up to speed. So the town manager really isn't involved in that process itself. Internally, yes, everybody from the command staff down to various levels of patrol are working hand in hand with our accreditation manager to ensure that our responsibilities and timelines are being met. So it is definitely a team-wide endeavor.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor Sterling. Councilor Maglio?
Thank you. Hi there. I appreciate the time that you spent at the Ways and Means Committee meeting. I appreciate the time that you spent sitting down with me. I asked a number of questions. I won't go through them all again here. I do think that one thing that came up during Ways and Means that maybe didn't come up tonight, and it would be interesting for people to hear, is regarding the reflection of the force in terms of the community that they're policing, reaching out and having an inclusive kind of recruitment process, making sure that multiple languages are available, making sure that there's a growing number of women on the force, people of color, et cetera. So if you wanted to address that, I think that would be helpful.
Sure. So it's extremely important policing that the department represents the community that it is policing. This is important due to, like I said, building relationships, making sure we have a common ground, and just the ability to interact with each other in a knowledgeable way. In regards to actually diversifying a department, we had a similar situation in Walpole. Over the past decade, maybe a little bit longer, we've increased our female components from 2 to about 8, which is, I think, slightly north, or I'm sorry, 7, which is slightly north of about 15%, which exceeds the national average, I believe. And we've gone out and, with the department, we recognized a time back that the department was predominantly white males. It was the community, it was the applicants we were receiving. Recognizing that and recognizing that the community was changing and that the demographics were changing, we knew that we needed to expand and diversify the department. So we made an effort to, like I said, increase our female complement, but we also made an effort to go out and find officers of diverse backgrounds. Now, when we did that, we did not just diversify just to diversify. We went out, we found officers of diverse backgrounds that fit the mold of police officers that we wanted in Walpole. People that were able to empathize, people that were buying into what we were attempting to accomplish, people that were able to build relationships and talk to people. So we were looking for not just diversification, but competent, effective police officers. And that is key. You can't just diversify a department based on numbers on a chart. You can begin the process that way. You can go out, you can figure out what the department needs, but ultimately, if you want to have an effective police department, you need to ensure that you're hiring and bringing in and maintaining or retaining the right type of police officer. This job's not for everybody. This job is difficult. This job will require sacrifice. You need to have people that are committed and dedicated to the job and the community, and they have to have certain personality traits, such as the ability to empathize and such as the ability to speak to other people and develop these relationships that we need. So in regards to diversifying the department, it is very important that the department represents the community that it reflects, but it's also equally important that that diversification is complementing the department in the means in which you're bringing somebody in. That being said, everybody within the community deserves to be treated with respect. You don't need to have a certain person of a certain background or gender or race to have an effective conversation or an effective meeting with somebody. You certainly don't need a police officer of one demographic interacting with another demographic and providing any sort of differential treatment. Everybody deserves the same treatment when it comes to law enforcement. We need to be unbiased at all times, and that the delivery of service is effective and providing the safety and security everybody deserves, regardless of their background.
Thank you very much. I'm done with questions from me.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Maglio. I have had 1 hour with you on the screening committee, observed and participated in 2 hours of questioning of you with the Ways and Means. I've listened to you this evening and had the opportunity to speak with you individually. You've answered all the questions that I have raised, and I thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. I will not have any questions for you this evening. Sure. Councilor Reynolds.
Thank you, President Moran. So we gather here tonight to vote on the confirmation of a new Braintree Police Chief, Deputy Chief Robert Kilroy, recently of the Town of Walpole Police Department. In my one-on-one meetings with him, in the Committee on Ways and Means hearing last week, and in tonight's full council hearing on his appointment, I have found Deputy Kilroy to have comported himself to a high standard of professional police knowledge, managerial competency, tact, and straightforwardness. These hearings have impressed upon me that Officer Robert Kilroy will be a good police chief. My major concern going forward is that the next permanent police chief of Braintree be allowed to perform his or her duties without interruption of or interference from the mayor's office or any other member of the mayor's staff. I do not make this statement lightly. It pains me that I must make these statements about our great community at a time where we should be congratulating a newly appointed department head who was a quality selection. I am highly disappointed that the process of selecting a replacement for arguably the most highly respected and accomplished police chief this town has ever had, in my opinion, Timothy Cahoon, and who was, for all intents and purposes, pushed out of his position by unelected individuals working for the mayor. Despite the subterfuge of certain individuals, Braintree is fortunate that a quality candidate was able to be before us tonight for a confirmation vote, despite attempts to squeeze out other quality candidates from fairly being considered for their own accomplishments and leadership capabilities as well. This is not sour grapes on my part because my preferred candidate didn't get selected for the job. In my personal observations, and that of many other officials and residents I've spoken to, it is that this specific hiring process was managed and overseen in a blatantly unprofessional and biased manner. Let me be clear. I do not fault the members of the selection committee for the manner in which the police chief search committee and the process was designed or carried out. Those responsible know who they are. I wish Robert Kilroy much success as a chief of police, but I must be true to my principles and standards of integrity. And by calling out that this process was carried out less than with high standards the people of Braintree expect, I will be voting no for that reason. Thank you, Mr. President.
Proceed with the Chair of Ways and Means, Councilor Baraka.
Thank you, President Moran. Is this the appropriate time to provide our statement on voting, or did you have comments? Go right ahead.
I was planning on asking for a motion first, and then on the motion we would discuss. So is there a motion on this order?
Yes, there is, Council President Moran. So,
are we not asking questions of the mayor? Or just of...
No, we were...
I just have one question on that.
Okay, I will allow one question to the mayor if she can decide whether she wants to answer or not.
You mentioned the third-party background check. That would be a condition of this, whether this appointment goes through or not. Can you just go into more detail about that? Because it wasn't done prior. We vote this, we appoint it, or we don't appoint it, but if we do appoint it, then you're going to start a third party, and when are we going to find out by that? Is there a deadline? Is this new news? So
there was discussion today in the aftermath of the split vote at the Ways and Means and some concerns expressed. I think Councilor Reynolds might have been alluding to some of those about, any potential, reason that the third-party background check that we did wasn't substantial enough. And I think that's, to triple check, and given the fact that we are under a timeline on the charter's provisions that if action isn't taken within 30 days, committing to doing, if the appointment were to go through conditioned on a successful non-municipal third-party background check, we would certainly share the results of the background check with the council as part of that. But if that wasn't a successful completion, then that appointment would not go through. So that was the intent of the ask tonight, was to maybe help build additional support for additional background checks if there is some sentiment that the third-party check we did was for any reason not sufficient or compromised. So I do not believe it was, but in offering that as, a triple check, again, this is a very important decision. This is a very important role in our community. It represents an incredibly talented group of men and women in our department. We don't want there to be, any second guessing that the leader is capable and qualified, and, it's a very privileged job. So we want to make sure that we've done our due diligence. So that was the initial offer, and trying to come out of some of the comments that I had gathered from Ways and Means last week to make that a part of a potential appointment this evening. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Okay, I would now entertain a motion.
Okay, so Order 26048, motion that in accordance with the provisions of Sections 2-10 and 3-3 of the Town Charter, the Town of Braintree, through the Braintree Town Council, affirms Mayor Erin V. Joyce's appointment of Robert J. Kilroy Jr. as Braintree Police Chief, subject to the successful completion of a third-party, non-law enforcement background check.
Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Second for discussion. Counselor Baraka.
Thank you very much, President Moran. I just want to follow along on Councilor Reynolds' remarks because he raised questions about the selection process. And I think it's important for people to know who aren't, reading the town charter every day, that the charter gives great deference to the mayor in choosing department heads. And above and beyond the requirements, Mayor Joyce compiled an accomplished steering committee with professional expertise in law enforcement, the legal system, and public safety. I want to say thank you personally to all of the folks who served on this screening committee on top of their day jobs and everything else that all of us have going on in our own lives. That was a service to the community. I have confidence in your expertise and the seriousness with which you conducted the work. The council has no insight into any of the other candidates. We are privy only to the mayor's final selection. And I believe that residents should feel assured that between the steering committee, or the screening committee, the work of the Ways and Means Committee, and indeed, Councilor Reynolds, I thank you for pointing out Mr. Kilroy's own answers, professionalism, comportment, and track record. Because public health and safety is the primary responsibility of local government. When residents feel secure in their homes, in their neighborhoods, on their streets, and in their schools, so much else can be accomplished. And we know how much can be done because of our current men and women on Braintree's police force. So it's no small thing to consider who should lead our town's police department and be entrusted to implement a vision for Braintree's public safety. And I am confident in Deputy Chief Rob Kilroy to bring forth this vision. After more than 2 hours of questioning during the Ways and Means hearing last night, and again this evening, it is clear to me that Deputy Chief Kilroy prioritizes empathy, strong communication, and community engagement to build trust, which in my opinion is fundamental to effective policing. As he detailed during the committee hearing, he has built his career and his reputation on a professional philosophy centered on humility and humanity, a willingness to learn from others, to put conversation before conflict, and public service above all else. Many of you were not at the Ways and Means Committee meeting, but and I'm going to paraphrase because he wrapped up that hearing by saying, you can teach someone to be a police officer, but you can't teach somebody how to be a good person. and having good people serve the residents of Braintree is something I have always been proud of. And I am confident, as Braintree's police chief, Mr. Kilroy will continue our long tradition of putting people first. I want to thank Mayor Joyce for bringing forward this appointment to the council, and I will be fully supporting his appointment this evening. Thank you, President Morin.
Thank you, Councilor Baraka. Councilor, does any other councilor wish to speak on the motion? Councilor Sterling.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, want to thank Mayor Joyce tonight for answering the questions and presenting Deputy Chief Kilroy for being here and answering our questions again tonight. Your answers were thorough and honest, and I really appreciate that, as does the rest of the council here today. Also want to thank the search committee, for the time that they took, my fellow councilors mentioned, out of their busy schedules to assist the town in searching for these candidates, going through all these candidates and ranking the applicants. I just want to make this brief statement tonight prior to the vote, similar to the one that I made last week at the Ways and Means meeting, so that all the residents can take into consideration where my thoughts are tonight and as we vote for this appointment. I want to start that I believe with leadership, ability, professional qualifications, experience, vision, character, and the ability to lead the Braintree Police Department into the future are some of the main qualifications needed to be a part of this very important decision on who will lead our department for years to come. To me, the morale of the department and the town is one of the factors that must be applied to this parameter, especially if all these other boxes are checked and no issues have arisen. I would add that this person needs to have the willingness to connect to not only the men and women of the department, but to the individuals who live in this town. In every decision that comes in front of this body, I try to do my due diligence and take into account that these decisions and votes are not taken lightly, and they will not only be good for Braintree, but they will not negatively affect the town in its image, financially, legally, or in overall day-to-day, the life of the employees and its citizens. To that end, I believe there are still major concerns that I have about parts of the process in choosing our new police chief. They have yet to be answered or rectified. I appreciate the mayor's willingness to look at a third party, outside company, to do the background check after the appointment, but I think my question remains that it's now after the appointment. There were some issues with the department that was chosen, and we discussed that at the Ways and Means hearing, and why that wasn't weighed prior to the process. Being elected as a councilor, we are elected by the town's residents, and through that decision, we ultimately make what I believe is need to be the best representation of our town and its residents. In making this decision tonight, and I'd only need to take into effect the reasoning that we've been given by Mayor Joyce, Mr. Kilroy's responses to our questions and statements, but also we must take into effect the outcome that this will have on the town as a whole, this whole process that has been done. And to not forget about the voices of our citizens who have elected us to represent them. After weighing all these answers, concerns, and questions, my vote today reflects, in my opinion, of what I believe is for the best and the standards here that we have in Braintree. Its citizens and the department, not just for the immediate future, but for years to come. And that is why I'll be voting no today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Sterling. Councilor Ringus.
Thank you, President Morin. Thank you for being here, Deputy Chief Kilroy. In my personal estimation, the three most important positions in any municipality are that of the superintendent of schools, the fire chief, and the chief of police. And as we sit here, I'm struck by the fact that over the last 2 years, we have selected a new superintendent, a new fire chief, and tonight we're in the process of appointing a new police chief. These are positions in which our community needs to feel secure in the appointments, as the safety of a community and the education of our children are of the most significant importance to a city or town. Before moving further into my remarks, I want to offer some thanks. First off, I want to thank many of our officers for being here tonight. This decision has a direct impact on their daily work and their mission of protecting and serving our community. Thank you to every applicant for this position. The number of applicants received for this important position is indicative of the respect many in law enforcement hold for our community, and ultimately the regard in which members of our community hold our public safety professionals. I want to thank the Mayor's office for selecting me to participate in the screening committee process alongside President Morin. I want to thank those members of the screening committee who served alongside me for their work in culling through various candidates and ultimately forwarding 4 applicants to the executive branch for further consideration. This was many hours of work, multiple hours of interviews, and I believe this committee dutifully completed such work. I want to thank the various members of our community who have reached out to me about this appointment. As I stated earlier, this appointment is of paramount concern to so many. Even if I did not have the chance to reach out to everyone individually as to your thoughts and concerns, I have made note of all of them as I considered my vote this evening. I especially want to thank Deputy Chief Kilroy for being here tonight. It is clear that you are a dedicated public servant who has served various communities in the Commonwealth, most notably Walpole. Your answers to our questions were clear, concise, and honest, both here and at Ways and Means. I see you as a strong law enforcement professional and one who is deserving of being chief. I would note that there was a somewhat tenuous end to the Ways and Ends meeting the other night, of which none was your fault, but you have remained professional and committed to this process. Which brings me to the process. This is an appointment of the executive branch, and ultimately the charter of this town dictates such, as any rejection of this position does not require a majority of the vote of the council to approve, but instead a 6-vote decision to reject. As such, with the power vested in the executive branch, they need to ensure that this process is open and transparent and conducted in a way that is completely and utterly above reproach. Although I reiterate that the screening committee did its work in selecting 4 finalists, a significant amount of work still exists after that fact to these candidates' vetting, whether that be a background check, further interviews, and ensuring that they're not only the right fit from a professional perspective, but also for being the right fit for our community and for the men and women of our department, again, the sworn personnel who protect and serve our community each day. At the outset of my remarks, I noted that we recently appointed a superintendent of schools. That process involved meetings with our community members so that feedback could be given. Our teachers and students were granted similar access to the various candidates. Here, such a process was not followed. Our community deserves to be a part of this process, and as I said, so many have already reached out to me about their concerns. Our teachers and school staff were also able to have some consideration in the choice of a superintendent. But here, the men and women most impacted by this decision were not consulted, not given any ability to give insight, and it appears communication with these dedicated individuals was sparse, if not non-existent. This is a significant oversight. It's a significant lapse, and it's one at this point is difficult for me to find any way in which to remedy. Despite the professionalism and law enforcement background of Deputy Chief Kilroy, it's difficult for me to vote in favor of this appointment given the issues with the process. And again, I want to note that this is in no way indicative of anything related to Deputy Chief Kilroy, but is instead an indictment on the way that the process was handled. So I will not be supporting this appointment tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Ingers. Councilor Maglio.
Thank you, Council President Morin. So, thank you. This process asked hard questions, and I appreciate that we stuck with it. A confirmation like this deserves that level of scrutiny. We received letters from the Police Officers Association and the Superior Officers Association, and I appreciate your input. You asked us to approach this with the seriousness it deserves and a willingness to evaluate whether the chosen path is the right one. Chief Kilroy's answers to my questions and to questions from other counselors satisfied me that he understands this is a big undertaking and that he is fit for the position. His answers on the importance of community policing and the relationship between police and the community gave me the confidence that he understands what the community needs going forward. I'll also agree plainly that this process was not perfect. Process matters, and I don't take process lightly at all. But I don't believe those flaws rise to the level of disqualifying this nomination, and I will be voting yes to support you this evening.
Thank you, Councilor Maglio. Does any other councilor wish to speak before I make my comments? Councilor Flaherty, are you all set? She's all set. Okay. Anyone else? Councilor Cruelty, are you all set? Thank you. I would like to thank the members of the screening committee for the work that they did. I would like to thank the members of the Ways and Means Committee for their thoughtful questions and the time, the effort, and the energy that they put into their hearing and vetting of this nomination. I would like to thank the members of the public that reached out to me on this, and also members of the Patrol and Superior Officers Union that took the time to meet with Councilor Flaherty and I to express their concerns beyond what they put in writing. I appreciated that opportunity to hear their views and share mine and share answer some questions that they had about the process. The screening committee completed their task that they were assigned with diligence and integrity and worked in the best interest of the town. There's been considerable discussion relating to the process that was followed in this search. As has been said, I was a member of the screening committee. This was the 6th police chief search in which I have participated since 1988, 4 in this town and 2 in another. Some of these prior searchers had assistance from consultants such as the International Association of Chiefs of Police, the Mass Chiefs of Police Association, and other private consultants. Some were done without a private consultant. The process the screening committee followed was not different from the other 5 searches in which I've participated. A screening committee was selected of applicants with varied backgrounds and views. They reviewed the applicants, chose some for interviews, and asked each candidate the same questions and rated the answers. There was then discussion about each candidate interviewed, and finalists were identified and forwarded to the mayor. The mayor then conducted interviews and made her selection, which brings us here tonight. Candidly, it would be my preference if Chief Cahoon had chosen to remain in Braintree. And I also have found that Interim Chief Robert Joseph gave an excellent interview, and I rated him highly. But it is the mayor's decision to select a chief, and not mine and not the council's. The council reviews the appointment and may then reject the appointment if they deem it appropriate. In my view, my role on reviewing an appointment by the mayor is twofold. 1, is the individual qualified? And 2, does this appointment serve the best interests of the town? I do not view my role to be to vote for the individual I personally think is the best candidate. In the chief searches that I've been part of, the candidate I favored usually wasn't hired. I believe Deputy Chief Kilroy is qualified. He has the requisite command and leadership experience. He is well-trained and has an impressive resume. I also believe the appointment of Mr. Kilroy serves the best interest of Braintree. The mayor needs a chief with which she can develop a productive and trusting relationship. I have spoken with her and heard her words this evening, and I believe it is the best option presently available for Braintree that her request to work with Deputy Chief Kilroy as Chief of Police in Braintree. I wish to thank the representatives of the Patrol and Superior Officers Union for taking the time to meet with Councilor Flaherty and I. I share their concerns, and I appreciate that they shared their concerns and also listened fairly to my responses to them. I hope that this dialogue continues and that they know my door is open to them whenever they wish to talk. What resonated with me in meeting with them was their statement that whatever the choice that was made in the council meeting tonight, they will line up behind and do the best they can for the citizens of Braintree, whether this chief is appointed or not. Policing is a unique profession, and police departments are not just bureaucratic organizations. They are families. Making changes to such an intimate structure creates fear and trepidations. I was struck recently by the words of Chief Phil Tavares in Marshfield to his, during a shift change before the July 3rd fireworks, which brought 100,000 people into Marshfield, where I am currently interim town administrator. To paraphrase his statement, he said before he sent his officers out to work, every officer wears the same patch. Every officer bears the same responsibility. Every officer goes willingly into situations that most people spend their lives trying to avoid. Each officer takes care of one another. And at the end of every shift, what matters most is that every officer goes home safely to their family. The town of Braintree supports its police, and Braintree deserves an excellent police department. There is much about the Braintree Police Department that is excellent, but there are areas that can be improved and built upon. I'd like to see less friction between the mayor's office and the unions, and I'm willing to work with both sides to make that improvement. We have a young department, and I want to ensure that the next generations of leaders in the current department are trained and mentored, so when the opportunity arises for advancement, they are ready. What impressed me most about Deputy Chief Kilroy was that after he completed the FBI training, and the 3-week training that he took for leadership, he took steps to ensure that it was offered to other superior officers in his department. And I would like to see that step taken in Braintree, whether it's the 3-week FBI leadership program or the more extensive 10-week Quantico experience that officers like former Chief Cahoon attended. That should be made available to officers who work their way through the ranks and show us a series of achievements. That should be invested in and rewarded. It's important that we invest in our departments, not only in their everyday training, but in their executive leadership training. I'd also like to see the department's accreditation restored, and Deputy Kilroy has talked about the success his current department has had in achieving that goal. And I think he's articulated a good plan to restore Braintree's accreditation. In closing, I want to emphasize how seriously I take the responsibility of making this appointment, just as I have in the role I have played in hiring over 60 officers, police officers in 4 departments over the last 4 decades. After a careful and thorough review, I am casting my vote to approve Mayor Joyce's nomination of Robert Kilroy. Thank you. There's no further discussion. The motion has been made and seconded. We will now take a roll call vote. Clerk Semino, take the roll, please.
Council Barica.
Yes.
Council Diuti. Councilor Flaherty.
Yes.
Councilor Maglio.
Yes.
Council Moran.
Yes.
Council Quilty.
Yes.
Council Reynolds.
No.
Council Ringus.
No.
Council Sterling.
No.
That's 5 in favor, 4 opposed.
Thank you. Councilor Reynolds?
Thank you, Mr. President. Now that the councilors have expressed and stated their individual their views of their vote and reasons, as a symbol of goodwill and of unity behind the new chief, Chief Kilroy, and the entire police department as a whole, I would like to ask for a vote of unanimous consent.
Second. Councilor Reynolds' motion has been made. Councilor Ringus seconds on the motion. No discussion. All those in favor, roll call vote.
One moment. Council Barica.
Yes.
Council Diuti. Yes. Council Flaherty, roll call again, please, for unanimous.
Yes.
Yes. Council Maglio.
Yes.
Council Moran.
Yes.
Council Quilty.
Yes.
Council Reynolds.
Yes.
Council Ringus.
Yes.
Council Sterling.
Yes.
That is unanimous.
Thank you. Congratulations, Deputy Chief Kilroy, now Police Chief Kilroy.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate the honor. Thank you very much, all.
Council will be in 5-minute recess. Okay, if we could get back into, out of recess, we will move to the next order of business. It is order number 26026. There is a motion, this is the demolition delay ordinance amendment. We are going to open the public hearing and then continue the matter to September 15th. Councilor Flaherty has left the meeting, so there is no longer a requirement of a roll call on each vote. We thank Councilor Flaherty for her exiting and it making this meeting more expedient as a result. Is there a motion to open the public hearing for order 26026?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to table this matter to September, or no, do we now close the public hearing, Clerk Semino?
Hearing to
Okay.
September 15th.
Okay, is there a motion to
7:30.
continue the public hearing to September 15, 2026 at 7:30 PM?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to the next, 2643 FY 2026 supplemental appropriation number 2, or take up any action relative to their 2. This is a public hearing. Is there a motion to open the public hearing on 2643?
Motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. I'll now refer to Councilor Barrica, Chair of the Committee on Ways and Means, for a recommendation on the order.
Thank you very much, President Moran. The Committee on Ways and Means met on June 23rd. We are sending this to the full council with a favorable recommendation. There is some use of free cash in this motion just for awareness as well as transfers.
Thank you, Councilor. Is there anyone from the mayor's staff here to speak on the order? The chair recognizes Mike Esmond.
Good evening, President Moran and members of the council. I'm grateful to present the second and final supplemental budget motions for fiscal 26. The motions in front of you are necessary to close the fiscal year successfully. And I'll summarize at a high level and touch on one of the notes that Chair Barrica just mentioned, but I'll be obviously very happy to answer any specific questions that I might not cover specifically. But in total, these set of motions represent $3.5 million in gross appropriations An important thing to note is that those appropriations and transfers, a good percentage of them are not new, but in fact are what the motions here would do is to make those funding, existing appropriations available as into next year if they are unexpended. Just as Chair Barrica noted, one of the primary ways that the appropriations are supported is through roughly $1.9 million of free cash as the funding. A couple things I want to emphasize in that. One, obviously, the use of free cash is something that we take very seriously. Under Mayor Joyce and with the council's support, we've made great progress in reducing the use of free cash. This fiscal 26 and fiscal 27's pro forma budgets, the adopted budgets, did not propose and rely on any free cash to support them. In the course of fiscal 26, there were two major components that, there's really two essential components that are being funded that occurred over the course of fiscal 26. First and foremost is the snow and ice deficiency, which is $1.1 million above what was appropriated in the 26 budget. In the two previous fiscal years, we did not need to close the year by asking for free cash to support it. We were able to identify transfers to fund the deficiency of expenses in snow and ice above what was appropriated. Realistically, of course, this winter was substantially different and much more severe. We had two major snowstorms, whereas in fiscal 25, for comparison, we had a deficiency of $275,000. This year we are at $1.1 million for the deficit. One positive note I would just want to note is that the state has, in the June supplemental budget legislation that was adopted and signed by the governor in June, the state has made about $100 million statewide available for to help communities with the extreme amount of storm response this winter season. And right now, I estimate Braintree would receive $275,000 from the statewide appropriation based on the allocation, the roadway allocation used for Chapter 98. So that funding is available and would be set aside as a reserve for fiscal 27 and would be available subject to appropriation for purposes of defraying any potential deficiencies for snow and ice next winter season. We're all hoping, I'm sure, for a warmer winter season or less snowy one maybe than last year. The other major spending item of note, in particular related to free cash, is collective bargaining. When the fiscal 26 budget was adopted, we had assumed a 2% wage increase for the 3 years that were being negotiated with all of the unions. As the council knows, we've brought several agreements now that are funded at 2.75 or would be at 2.75. These were hard bargain negotiations that we've reached. Several continue, but in lieu of that additional increase, the 275 from the 2, we need to increase the appropriations in our reserves, as well as to the funding that is made available to the school district. So again, I want to emphasize the importance and the seriousness that we recognize the use of free cash. It is a true one-time resource. It's not available once you use it necessarily in any given fiscal year. And so limiting it for these purposes is important. Even with the use of free cash in this supplemental, there is still, inclusive of just our pure rainy day fund, there is $12.5 million in reserves at the close of this fiscal year, which is the highest amount that the town of Braintree has had in many years. So we're moving in the right direction. We have a lot of work that we're still working to do to build up and maintain those reserves. But we are in a good position, and I should note that 12.5 represents 3 times the amount that we closed fiscal 23 with. So again, we are mindful of the use of that, and you have my assurance that we continue to be very focused on the impact of any use of any of our reserves, on where that puts us in mitigating unanticipated or increased costs than what we expected. Just very quickly on the other items of note, the other major financing items, other ways that the spending was financed is through roughly $230,000 in additional Chapter 70 aid that was above what the fiscal 26 budget assumed. So the General Appropriations Act that was signed into law last July exceeded the budget, and those funds are available for this purpose, for the purposes of offsetting supplemental funding. And then also there is a $1.4 million of budget rescissions and or transfers that essentially are not generated by cuts to any program or any spending modification we would do to reduce services or eliminate positions. These are achievable and made available because of surpluses in payroll budgets, or if there's unspent funding for various reasons in a program that can be made available for the purposes of supporting these supplemental appropriations. So, Mr. President, I'll stop there. I know that was sort of a high-level brief. We went through the details at Ways and Means, but I'd be happy, of course, to answer any specific questions for members or residents.
Sure. Do any councilors have any questions they want to ask at this time on this? Everybody else? Okay. Just for the public's edification, I just want to go through each item real quick. 1.1 million for snow and ice, 684,000, or a total of 1,039,000 for collective bargaining reserve, collective bargaining costs for schools, about 634,000, 50,000 for town street lighting, school utilities, another 400,000 vacation payouts for a total of 120,000, 50,000 for legal, police department building costs 30,000, police settlement reserve 66,000, fire department a total of 50,000 for building work, various golf course, golf department transfers for turf maintenance. I'm not going to add up that until the full motion. The insurance fund, there's a transfer to the general fund of 109,000. That's a good thing. Transfer from tailings of 204,000, and then $3,980 for an unpaid bill to Kelly and Ryan. I don't know how they're going to survive in Kelly and Ryan without $3,980. Okay. There being no questions, are there any member of the general public who wishes to ask any questions? Seeing none, I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will now entertain the 14 motions related to this order. Councilor Maglio.
Okay. Motion that the sum of $1,134,815 be transferred from fiscal year 2025 certified free cash to DPW Snow and Ice Program.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next.
Motion that the sum of $684,000 from the Finance Administration Program and sum of $355,000 from the fiscal year 2025 certified free cash for a total of $1,039,000 to be transferred to a Finance fiscal year 2026 article reserve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Next.
Motion that the sum of $230,000 in additional Chapter 70 funds and the sum of $404,000 from fiscal year 2025 certified free cash for a total of $634,000 be transferred to transfers to schools collective bargaining program.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. Motion that the sum of $50,000 be transferred from DPW Grounds Maintenance Program to the DPW Street Lighting Program.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. Motion that the sum of $100,000 from the DPW Facilities Program and the sum of $150,000 from the DPW School Custodian Program for a total of $250,000 be transferred to the DPW School Utilities Program.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Motion that the sum of $21,000 from Community Planning and Development Administration Program, the sum of $20,000 from Community Planning and Development Conservation Program, the sum of $50,000 from the Human Resources Veterans Program, the sum of $10,000 from Finance Department Assessor Program, and the sum of $19,000 from the Finance Department Interest on Debt Program for a total of $120,000 be transferred to the Human Resources Administration Program.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
That the sum of $50,000 from the Finance Department Interest on Debt Program be transferred to the Legal Department Administration Program.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
That the sum of $30,000 be transferred from the Police Department Special Services Program to the Police Department Building Maintenance Program.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. That the sum of $66,000 be transferred from the Police Department Administration Program to a Police Department Settlement Article Reserve.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
That the sum of $20,000 from the Fire Department Administration Program and the sum of $30,000 from the Fire Department Fire Suppression Program for a total of $50,000 be transferred to the Fire Department Building Program.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Chief, you can go home now.
That the sum of $10,000 from the Golf Department Building Maintenance Program, the sum of $27,000 from the Golf Department Turf Maintenance Program, and the sum of $20,000 from Golf Department Golf Pro Program for a total of $57,000 be transferred in the amounts of $37,000 to the Golf Department Administration Program, $10,000 to the Golf Department Equipment Maintenance Program, and $10,000 to the Golf Department Cart Operations Program.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. That the sum of $109,000 be transferred from the Insurance Recoveries Fund, Fund 3504, to the General Fund.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
That the sum of $204,920 be transferred from the Unclaimed Items and Tailings Fund, Fund 8902, to the General Fund.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. That the sum of $3,980 be reappropriated from the fiscal year 2026 Finance Department Treasurer Collector Program for the purpose of paying unpaid bills to Kelly and Ryan, which were incurred prior to July 1st, 2025.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of that one. Thank you very much. All right. Our next order of business is done that one. Where are we? The 26045, which is Councilor Ringus's favorite thing to do. Not this one. The mayor's authorization for deed in lieu of foreclosure, parcel 30200-83B, 50 Elmwood Park, or take up any action relative thereto. This is a public hearing. Is there a motion to open the public hearing for the order 26045?
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll now refer to Council Baraka, Chair of the Ways and Means Committee, for a recommendation on the order.
Thank you very much, President Moran. The committee met earlier this evening. We are sending this to the full council with a favorable recommendation. And I just would like to add thank you to Councilor Quilty, who we learned at the hearing brought this to the mayor's attention quite some time ago, and it's great to see it coming back to the council now. So thank you, Councilor Quilty. Thank you, President Moran.
Thank you. Is there any member of the mayor's staff who would like to speak on the order? The chair recognizes the esteemed treasurer collector.
All right, good evening. Thank you, President Moran and members of the council. I super appreciate your time today to listen to the story of 50 Elmwood Park. So I think it's best to sort of go quickly and chronologically and again, just tell the story so that you guys can all understand what it is that we're proposing today. So we'll start in 1986 when Ed Dwyer incorporates a business called Argonaut Corporation. And he opens this business at 3 parcels of land that are located kind of like, it's like the tip of a spear at the corner of Elliott Street and Elmwood Park. It is 3 parcels. He uses them. They're they're pre-existing non-conforming. They're in the middle of a residential neighborhood, but he uses them for a commercial purpose of a filling station and a car repair shop. He executes this business on this 3 parcels of land, effectively operating it as one. And starting in 1989, he starts to fail to pay his real estate taxes. So in 1991, the town treasurer at the time places a lien on 2 of the 3 parcels. It is unclear why the lien was not placed on the 3rd parcel at that time. Unsure. But whatever the case may be, the town has a lien on 2 of the 3 parcels, while Mr. Dwyer continues to operate Argonaut Corporation on the property. He continues to fail to pay his taxes. And then in 1998, he dissolves the business. Business goes defunct, loses all its assets. All 3 parcels still have not paid any of the taxes, real estate taxes. Only 2 of the 3 have liens. And so then in 2002, the town of Braintree takes him to land court and says, those 2 parcels that we have tax liens on, it's time to give us those properties through the foreclosure and land court process. The town wins the foreclosure process. We take ownership in 2002 and 2003 of 2 of the 3 properties. The 3rd property, still owned by Argonaut, again, unclear why we didn't place the lien at the time. Sure there was a reason. Don't actually possess a time machine, so not sure why. But we've got ownership of 2 of the 3 properties. The 3rd property, which is when you're looking at the property again, this is kind of like the tip of the spear where Elliott meets Elmwood. And the 3rd property is, we're calling it, for ease of this conversation, we'll call it 83B. 83B, still owned by Argonaut, not paying any taxes. So around 2015, we place a lien on that property. So now we've got some stake in this game. So we go ahead and start issuing letters, and the building department has been issuing letters to Mr. Dwyer because they want him, the property has fallen into disarray, by the way, which I know Councilor Quilty has pointed out. It's fallen into disarray. There are dilapidated buildings. There are underground storage tanks which contain petroleum, water. There's oil all over the property. We don't know how much is saturated in the ground. But again, we own 2 of the parcels. The Argonaut Corporation owns 1. Argonaut Corporation is defunct. So now you've got us in 2015 to 2020, we're sending letters. We're sending letters all over the place to everywhere but where Mr. Dwyer actually lives. So the letters are going unresponded to. So in 2020, the file sort of stops. I don't know if we just were like, oh, we're done sending letters. But in 2024, I am hired as a treasurer collector, and in 2025, in the spring, I meet with Councilor Quilty and the mayor, where this property is brought to my attention. I immediately find Mr. Dwyer, who is happily living in Rhode Island, and reach out and say, hey, Mr. Dwyer, you owe a lot of taxes. You still own this property. What do you think? Let's figure this out. He is amenable. We reach to our council, and the next thing you know, we find ourselves in the process called deed in lieu of foreclosure. This, I do believe, is the best process for the town. It will avoid land court. It will shortcut what could potentially be a 5 to 7 year process to 1 year, and it has been 1 year's time since we met in the spring of 2025. So now I stand before you today having completed the process of the deed in lieu of foreclosure, which frankly, to be fair, was kind of no small feat because Argonaut Corporation is defunct. And when it's over 25 years defunct, the state says, you can't do business with them. So nobody can do business with them. So then you have to convince the state, well, we need to do this. And then the state says, well, there's this process called the revival. So I revived Argonaut for a temporary revival for 9 months to do this, to get this deed done. So we have a couple of months left. Actually, we have till probably Thanksgiving-ish to get this deed in lieu of foreclosure done. The other thing that everybody should know is Mr. Dwyer is 86 years old. So we just want to be mindful of that because if Mr. Dwyer passes or if the revival period closes, we will be in a pickle. But right now, we have an opportunity for Mr. Dwyer to give us this property. He will give us the deed in lieu of us foreclosing on the property. I will say that the property currently owes over $200,000 in real estate taxes. That includes interest and costs. But I will say only committed taxes is $66,000 approximately. So what is on the books as a receivable for the town of Braintree is $66,000, but of course those interest and costs keep adding up, which is how we get to over 200 grand. But again, the receivable on the books that we will be wiping away is 66 grand. The assessed value of this property is 198 grand. I'm going off the top of my head, but I feel pretty confident about that. The assessed value is 198 grand. Now the catch is that there's a fair amount of contamination on the property. We're not going to hide that ball. In 2006, DEP conducted a site assessment of this property, and they said that there is likely contamination on the land. So we need to figure out how much contamination there is, and then we need to figure out what we're going to do with it. But before we do any of that, we got to own the land. So I propose a motion to you today for us to do a deed in lieu of foreclosure with Mr. Ed Dwyer, we call him Ned, so that we can take ownership and then proceed to determine the level of contamination and then determine the remediation and then determine what to do next. But this is really step one. That's what I got.
Took the most boring item on the agenda and made it into a cinematic experience.
Yes, bravo.
Yeah, we await the Netflix miniseries that will be devoted to this. Is there any member of the council Councilor Quilty, you deserve to speak on this one.
First of all, I want to say thank you, Christine, for all the hard work you've done. I know it's been a lot of work, and progress is slow, but at least there's progress. I mean, the issue with the property is, as we know, is that there's also a building that's kind of holding up Elliott Street, and the building is in decay.
Yes.
It's also attractive nuisance. Granted, there is a fence around the property, but it's just, the only way we can actually do anything with it is to own the whole thing. So at least we're heading in the right direction. So again, thank you for your hard work.
Oh, you're welcome. And you couldn't be more right. Mr. Dwyer has no intention of doing anything with this property, none whatsoever.
And it's my understanding that he owned a business there from the 1930s until the 1970s, where he earned a living, and then he just left the building. When he was done with it, he just left it, which to me just doesn't even make sense. But whatever. So, anyways, thank you so much again for everything that you're doing. I appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you, Councilor Quilty. Would any other councilor wish to discuss this one? No? Okay. Is there any member of the public who wishes to discuss Mr. Toma?
Good evening. With you doing this, are you going to put...
Could you just, Mr. Toma, we all know you, but could you just state your name and address for the record,
Okay,
please?
my name is Robert Toma, and I live in Central Ave, right over there.
Over there. Thank you.
If you take over the property and it's contaminated, does that put the town at risk? Or if the gentleman passes away and you don't transfer property, who's responsible for the cleanup?
Treasurer Collector.
These are excellent questions, and thank you very much for asking them. So to address The catch here is that the town already owns contaminated land, and that is sort of where I don't want to play sort of hide the ball. There are 3 parcels in play, 2 of which we have actually owned since 2002, and that is where the dilapidated building is, and that is where some of the underground storage tanks are. So we actually already own it. So the fact that we want to pursue this 3rd parcel, which is likely also contaminated, I mean, I'm just an accountant, but is likely contaminated, I don't know, due to leaching or some other such thing. We need to conjoin these properties to get the best bang for our buck, because you want to have all 3 properties together so that you can move forward and then have more flexibility as what to do. Then the question is, well, what do we do, and what is the liability when we do want to? And again, I'm trying to stress that we already have liability here. So what we want to do is get ourselves out of this pickle by getting this 3rd property and then opening up our opportunities. And those opportunities, in my opinion, would be once you own all 3 parcels, now you have a half an acre of land to deal with. And I intend, if this deed in lieu of foreclosure is accepted, I intend to apply for a grant. There are brownfield grants that are available to us. I've already spoken with some folks, and I can get a meeting set up as soon as this property is acquired by the town, and we can apply for and hopefully get a grant to have a site assessment done. So effectively, there'd be 2 grants. First grant would be for the site assessment, and that would be to tell us how much contamination there is. Once you have that in your hand, you can figure out, okay, now I know how bad this is. You'll have the site assessment for all 3 properties. And then you can figure out what to do. Again, that would be grant funded by the federal government. So hopefully this would be no cash out of pocket. Then once you have that site assessment and the contamination knowledge at your disposal, then you have what I believe would be 3 choices. There's probably more, but you would have at least 3 choices. 1, you would have that information and you would sell the property or auction the property, and you would provide to the potential buyers or bidders that site assessment. You'd say, hey, this is what you're looking at. This is what you're going to buy. I'm going to sell a property as is how I would describe it. Or auction it off as is, and then they would assume the responsibility of cleaning up the property and then doing what they wish with the property. The other option that you could have is that the town could apply for a 2nd grant, and that 2nd grant would be to actually remediate the property. You would clean up the property, and then you would use the property for whatever the town decides. Maybe they want to build a park there, maybe they want to sell it for fair market value once it's all cleaned up. That would be up to the town. But those would be your options. But again, it's hard to get out of the gate unless we own the property. So that's why I'm making this recommendation for the council to consider.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the general public? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Is there a motion on this order?
Yes, there is. Motion that the town of Braintree, acting by and through its town council, authorizes the town to proceed with the foregoing process to accept the accompanying deed in lieu of foreclosure pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 60, Section 77C, relative to the real property designated as parcel 3020-0-83B in the town of Braintree Assessor's Records. It is further ordered that the accompanying council resolution accepting the deed in lieu of foreclosure is approved and shall be executed, and a true copy of the council resolution shall be recorded with the executed and notarized deed at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. The executed resolution shall become effective according to the rules and regulations of the town of Braintree Home Rule Charter.
Okay, we also have to read the full text of the resolution that is attached to the order. I'm going to spare Councilor Vice President Maglio, and I'll read this myself. Town of Braintree Resolution 26045R, acceptance of deed in lieu of foreclosure pursuant to General Law, Chapter 60, Section 77C, Town of Braintree Assessors Parcel ID 3020-0-83B Elmwood Park. Whereas on or about September 23rd, 1986, Edward T. Dwyer II conveyed a certain parcel of land located on Elmwood Park, Braintree, to Argonaut Corporation by deed dated September 23, 1986, and recorded at Norfolk Registry of Deeds in Book 7743 at page 124, which property appears as lots numbered 11, 12, and 13, as shown on a plan of House of Lots drawn by Quincy L. Reed, surveyor, and recorded with the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds as plan number 5771 of 1882, Plan Book 13, page 571, the Elmwood Park property. And whereas the Elmwood Park property appears in the Town of Braintree Assessors Records as parcel 3020-0-83B and is currently assessed at $198,600. And whereas taxes assessed on the Elmwood Park property for municipal fiscal year 1989 went unpaid, and the town collector recorded an instrument of taking in Norfolk County Registry of Deeds, Book 9021, page 368. And whereas the books and records of the town treasurer indicate that as of May 17, 2026, a total of $212,324 in outstanding taxes, interest, and costs are currently due on the Elmwood Park property. And whereas Argonaut Corporation was administratively dissolved by the Secretary of the Commonwealth on August 31st, 1998, and whereas said taxes remain unpaid, and Argonaut Corporation has no remaining assets save for the Elmwood Park property, and whereas said current owner is willing, as part of its corporate winding up process, to convey said Elmwood Park property to the town and will execute the deed, a copy of which is attached here too as Exhibit 1, and whereas General Law, Chapter 60, Section 777C authorizes a municipality's legislative body to accept a deed from the owner of a parcel of land in lieu of tax foreclosure. Now therefore be it ordered that the town of Braintree, acting by and through its town council, accepts the deeds of the parcel of land designated as Town of Braintree Assessors Records as parcel 3020-0-83B pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 60, Section 77C, in lieu of tax foreclosure, and it is further ordered that a true copy of this resolution be recorded with the original deed at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. This resolution shall become effective according to the rules and regulations of the Town of Braintree Home Rule Charter.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. It is unanimous.
Nice job.
Thank you. I was inspired by you, Vice President Magley. Thank you, Treasurer Collector, and thank you, Councilor Quilty, for all your work on this. Our next matter is 2726, Council of Flaherty, discussion, trash and recycling, drop-off center, Ivory Street, or any action relative thereto. We are keeping this item on our agendas until we get some meaningful updates. We have no updates tonight from Mr. Jocks. Pardon? Take it off the table. Oh, motion to take it off the table?
Second.
Oh. Okay. Motion's been made by Councilor Barrica, seconded by Councilor Ringus, in interesting order, but whatever. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Okay. It is now taken off the table. We have nothing tonight from our DPW director or Jeff Kuntz, who they may have options to share at their August meeting. I do want to note that we have received correspondence from a constituent of District 6, which is the most important district in my humble opinion, who is in the audience tonight, Gene Conley. Thank you for your detailed, thorough, and insightful memo and email. It will be forwarded and responded to by the mayor's office at our next meeting. I appreciate your thoughts. You know, it's a good discussion point. You bring up a number of good items. We share your concerns about this issue and the ways that it could be funded. I will make sure that the issues that you bring up are fully explored. So thank you.
President Moran.
Councilor Baraka.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to also add to the record, and I would appreciate an answer at our August meeting. I'm waiting for a response from the mayor's office. It was brought to my attention that residents at multifamily properties are being denied purchasing trash stickers, so that if they have large items, they are unable to drop them off themselves. So I'm totally flummoxed as to why this is the case. I'm concerned that this would increase illegal dumping. And I've also heard from several residents that they're willing to have an increase in the fee to cover the cost of the sticker, but if they can't even get a sticker, we can't even get there. So that is an outstanding question. I want to make sure it's on the record and would appreciate a response. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Baraka. Are there any other questions or concerns of council members on this? No, thank you. So would it be appropriate, Clerk, to entertain a motion to table this until the next meeting?
Motion to table 2726 until the next meeting.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. All right, is there a motion to move all remaining items under new business to their respective committees?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous. I thank the council for its diligent and respectful and insightful work this evening. Our next meeting is scheduled on Tuesday, August 4th, 2026 at 7:30 p.m. I would like to thank the employees of BCAM for televising this meeting tonight, Jerry Comack, Dave Maybrook, and the legendary Bill Needham. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you and good night.